All right, so yesterday afternoon, I was sitting at my desk when I kept getting more and more phone calls from all over the corporation. And when I asked these people why they kept asking me to help them, they kept saying the same thing to me. When we talk to the senior manager, nothing happens. And if that had happened to me once in a while, I would understand. But it happened to me 4 times yesterday. And it wasn't just individuals, it was groups of people who would send me messages on Slack and say, "Hey, Millennial Stain, we need help." And I'd say to them, go to that, go to the door, go to the support door, go ask those people. That's their job. And most of their reaction to that was, well, they're not helping us. And I just thought to myself, oh my goodness gracious, this is unbelievable. And when I confronted the senior manager about this, he just pretended, he just shrugged his shoulders like, It's not my fault. I don't have enough people. My people are demoralized. There are no raises, there are no bonuses, and there's no future here. These people, they're doing the best they can." So I got on the phone with one of these guys, and it sounded like he was jogging very, very hard. In fact, I got on the phone and I was just like, what's going on here? So I just asked him about if he could do something. And he's like, yeah, yeah, I'll do it. And he just wanted to get me off the phone. And I was just like, what's going on there? Anyhow, that happened yesterday. Let's get into our monologue. You ever notice how companies love to talk about valuing their employees until it's time to actually pay them? They'll send out emails about record breaking profits, throw in a pizza party, maybe even a company hoodie. But when you ask about a raise, suddenly the budget's tight. Meanwhile, the CEO just got a 7 figure bonus for doing what exactly? If hard work really led to success, the people breaking their backs every day wouldn't be the ones struggling to afford rent. So last week, I was standing um, in the office of the office president with some of the administrative people. And he said, in order to reward you guys for all of the work that you guys have done this week, I'm taking you guys out to eat. Except Gen Z can't come. That was the only stipulation there. He didn't want Gen Z there. And I was just like, you know what? He's going to get really butthurt. That was my first thought. He's going to get really butthurt. But the time that we were supposed to go out to get our meal, our thank you meal, um, didn't happen. So I kind of like I was looking at my watch because I had a really light something to eat around 10 o'clock, and I was like, it's that time. And then I saw some of the office staff leaving early, and I knew we weren't going to get our meal for free. It's things like this that make you I don't know what the word is. It's not so much hate your job. It's more like just hate your life. Where they can dangle a carrot in front of you and say, "Hey, by the way, we're going to give everyone in the company a free piece of clothing with the company logo on it. And this is your reward for busting your hump for no extra pay for years at a time." Or you get that microwave pizza that everyone has to share one slice. It's despicable, honestly. But it is the workplace. And unfortunately, there's very little that we can do. Because as I've been telling you guys now for months, and I've heard this from all over the country. Jobs are getting tougher and tougher to find. Despite all of these rosy reports about how the economy is supposed to be growing, we all know that's not true. We've probably been in a recession for years now, except nobody wants to say that word out. No one wants to say that the economy's bad. Because once people embrace it, then they start looking for someone to blame. And we all know that in the past few weeks, we've got a guy that's running a reality TV show. and loves to say, "You're fired." That's really what it comes down to. It's a reality TV show out there. And the more people you get rid of, the better it makes you feel about what you're doing on your reality TV show. As the country crumbles and more people are laid off because they they need the money, right? Rich people need more money, and they will never get tired of having more money. So you just have to like sit back, watch the destruction of society, and hope that you can hold on to your paycheck for one more week. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, there is absolutely no job security out there. All right, so let's get into my four talking points before I go off on another tangent. I also have to get ready to go to the gym in a few minutes, and it is freezing. It's been raining all night, and it is cold out there. All right, here we go. Hard work often leads to more work. If your company keeps saying maybe next year, they never plan to pay you more in the first place. In the first year that I got hired at Evil Corp, they gave me a small bonus when they fired the senior manager the first time. Basically, they gave me the crumbs to take over the senior manager's position. And since then, the workload has quadrupled, and there has not been even a hint of more money. In fact, they've made it clear that they would rather I leave. All the senior management within my group has made it absolutely clear that they would prefer that I leave. The only problem with that is everyone else around them is like, wait a minute, that's the only competent guy we have in this entire area. That's the only problem with that. And you're kind of just like, let's see, what are we going to do in this situation? Millennials team doesn't want to stay because the pay's too low, but we also need him to stay and bust his hump for next to nothing. It's a no-win situation for me. But that's what the workplace is right now. It's a toxic no-win situation for every person that's an hourly employee. There's no chance that somehow you're going to break through and start earning some real money from your job. In fact, I tease people about this all the time. Your only way out of poverty is the lottery. And you know what? You would think that by saying something as ridiculous as that I would get people who would push back against the idea that the only chance they have in life is the lottery. But you know what? People accept that as their reality. They buy more lottery tickets. It's not an amazing coincidence that that mega Powerball thing is into the billions of dollars. That's the only hope for the proletariat. There is no working your way out of being damned right now. It's either win at the casino or be a failure for the rest of your life. There are no other answers. There is no clear other path to building a fortune and financial comfort. It's just you working till the bitter end, or you getting lucky and being taken out of the wage cage and put somewhere else. But unless someone picks you up by the back of your neck and takes you out of the wage cage, there's no escape. Talking point number 2. The "we can't afford raises" excuse disappears when executives get bonuses, new hires join, and offices get expensive renovations. One of my coworkers is absolutely disgusted. Every time we have to go to the ivory tower, he looks around and sees the lavish waste. And the expression on his face is absolute bitterness. He'll say to me, "Look, millennials, look at all of this. They have so much money here that they can afford to waste it like this. But I got a 30-cent raise this year." It is absolutely, I can't even begin to describe the sense of despair that I feel for my coworkers right now. The new hires joining. They have hired at least half a dozen people since the beginning of the year that have nothing to do with the actual work. These are people that are analysis people, they're financial people. They're people whose job it is to streamline spending, streamline what the corporation can get out of people, performance people, people who are looking at every single job and seeing where they can get more out of you. But when it comes to money, there is none. Bonuses, we all know that broadcasting bonuses, making public knowledge the bonuses that the executives right now would probably not go over well with people who can't afford to buy eggs. And your leadership tells you, shut up. I don't want to hear about your expensive eggs. If that's the way the person that's running things feels about poor people, you're screwed. And that's exactly how it feels. It doesn't matter how much pain there is at the bottom. As long as rich people don't feel anything, everything is fine. But Johnny Sixpack knows that working 3 jobs isn't normal. Susie Rottencrotch, which you guys are looking up at right now on the screen because I was making the art during. So I've learned to try to do more time management while I'm making these videos. So at the same time that I'm writing the script, I'm generating the art. So so you guys are, I'm able to see what you guys are seeing right now. And again, these women represent the working class. Single, knocked up Susie Rottencrotch knows that life isn't going to get any better. And now that she's with you inside of her belly, the proletariat, she's ensuring that we have more and more people willing to take jobs in the service industry. Because that's all America is anymore, right? All jobs are McDonald's. In the future, all restaurants are Taco Bell. That's just the way it is, and that's where you're going to work. Unfortunately, all of these places, the service industry is taking it on the chin right now. Walk past any fast food restaurant and look at the prices. Look at the customers. You can walk into any place right now in Arizona at lunchtime and find a restaurant that's completely empty. And that means that as the service industry shrinks, because people don't have money to go out to eat fast food, that those businesses that cater to what used to be poor people food will go out of business, taking the jobs with them. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think about all the malls that have been demolished just here in Arizona. I was working at the North Phoenix office a few weeks ago, and I was watching them bulldoze Metro Center, and I thought, that's the end of an era. Those were thousands of jobs that existed inside of that place that are now gone. Meaning that the people that would have taken those jobs have to go look somewhere else. And for a lot of those people, there is no somewhere else. I'm witnessing people who are staying unemployed for years at a time. I myself have been unemployed for years at a time, and not trying to find a job, but just because even those low-level jobs are being much more picky, and the hours are abysmal. The working conditions are terrible. I mean, I even talked to one of the cashiers the other day who preferred to give up the job that she had to stand in front of the store because she was sick and tired of dealing with customers directly. So she decided that she was going to move to a different department because she just didn't want to do it. Because no matter where you go inside of retail, it's the same. It's minimum wage. It may be minimum wage plus $1, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you're making $15 or $25 an hour, it doesn't matter. There's no difference in lifestyle. Sure, you may be able to afford food and gas on one day if you're making closer to 25, but on the minimum wage, you're going to make tough decisions. You're going to go outside, grab 2 fistfuls of dirt and toss them in your mouth and just call it whatever you want. ambrosia for all I know. All right, talking point number 3. This one's very applicable to me. If you're doing the job of 3 people, putting in extra effort, and still not getting a raise, you're being used. Exploitation in this country must be at an all-time high. If we had a meter right now that started at 0 and went to 10, that little arrow would have broken off when it hit 10 and it would have just kept going all the way to 1,000, because the exploitation in this country is at a terrifying level. I see it every single day. I see it in my own face when I wake up in the morning and I go to the bathroom. It's like the amount of work that they're getting out of every single person is just, I don't understand how the proletariat has not put down these jobs and just raised their fist in the air. Like the amount of labor that they're expecting to get out of every single person at Evil Corp is absolutely remarkable. That's why when I looked around at the small group that is responsible for taking care of every single need within the corporation, I just looked at those poor guys, and I mean, they're beaten to crap. And none of them have gotten a raise in years. The fact that they still stay is a testament to their despair, to their knowing. Every one of those guys is looking for another job. I've talked to them, every one of them. And there's just nothing for them to move up to. Nothing pays more. In fact, the jobs that I was applying to, most of them were paying $20,000 less a year. And you're just like, well, if I take a giant pay cut, at least I'll have more free time. No, that's not how that works. Right now, this is work. It is Saturday morning. This is work. This isn't something that I can afford not to do. This is a paycheck every single month. And if I spent my weekends relaxing or going fishing or getting to do the things that I want to do, that would be nice. But the reality is that's not possible. My day is going to be full of at least 4 hours of working here in front of the microphone. And that's not optional. It's either this or spend my weekends delivering food. Those are the only options I have because my paycheck isn't enough. And it never will be. We've moved into an era in America where the one job is now considered part-time. No one wants to say that out loud, but one job is part-time now. You need to in order to be employed full-time right now, you need to have at least 2 to 3 jobs. And that's no joke, because you look at the buying power. One job just doesn't buy enough, doesn't bring home enough buying power in order to support yourself. You've got to be working all of the time. My final talking point. If your company hasn't given you a raise in years, they're never going to. Well, I mean, how can you take that? They never planned on giving you a raise in the first place because they were hoping that you wouldn't stick around this long, and they'll always find someone more desperate. Always. And that's what they're counting on. In a tough job economy, they can get people who are doing who have extremely good work history and advanced education to do just about anything. I know people right now with engineering degrees that are working in retail. Why? There's no opportunities as more and more jobs disappear forever. And I mean, leave this country and be taken by people in India or in Mexico. These people will take a fraction of what you currently make in order to just have a job. And I've seen that at every single company I've ever worked at. Like one of the very first software companies that I worked for used a group of Eastern European programmers that didn't speak English, and that you spoke to them through a translating app. And their work was just as good as anyone that you would be paying a respectable salary to in this country for maybe 10% of what you would be spending. It didn't matter to them. They just needed the money. So, what have we come to the conclusion of? We're all damned. There's no escape. And unless you're willing to do something about it, things are going to progressively get worse in every aspect of your life. I was just looking at something about AI companions, and the site had um, claimed to have 12 million downloads for AI assistants. And I use the word assistant very loosely here. But that's really where men and women have come down to, where we can't even afford relationships. So, would human beings, which are very social creatures, have gotten to a point where they can't afford to socialize? Going out's expensive, meeting people's expensive, but you still have a desire to talk to someone. That's kind of the way that I sit in my office sometimes. I sit there, there's nothing to do sometimes, and there's no one to talk to, and you just kind of sit there and stare at the computer screen. And the loneliness scale in this country right now is probably just as terrible or worse than the job economy. And that's just something I wanted to add on to the end.